Well, I thought a good place to start would be clarifying just what it is we're talking about when we talk about sensory experience, and maybe how sensation is different from some somewhat similar terms or terms in the same area like perception or cognition. So perceptual experience, how does that differ from sensory experience?
The term perception rather than sensation has two different connotations in the philosophical literature, philosophical history. Uh, one of which, uh, well, both of which I wanted to avoid. That's why I said sensory experience. But let me say a bit about both. So, one difference between talking about sensory experience and perception is a success verb. If I have an illusion or a hallucination, I see this cup to be blue and it's in fact white, then I'm not perceiving it to be blue. I'm not perceiving its blueness, even though I'm having a sensory experience as of its being blue. So I used metaphysics of sensory experience. I could have said metaphysics of perceptual experience. And indeed, the term perception is sometimes used to cover what are called the bad cases of illusion and hallucination, as well as the good cases of veridical perception. But kind of strictly speaking, it shouldn't be used like that. I mean, I'm not perceiving when I have a hallucination. I'm not perceiving when I suffer an illusion. Anyway, so that's one issue. And when I called it sensory experience rather than perception, it was just to emphasize that I was interested in what's going on in the bad cases as well as what's going on in the good cases. I mean, there's some views. This is one of the issues in this area. People think that there's no common conscious factor between the bad cases and good cases. I do think there is. We'll probably come on to this. I do think there is a common conscious factor. But when I said I'm writing a book about sensory experience, I wasn't yet in the title presupposing that consciously the illusions and hallucinations were one with the veridical perceptions. I was just signaling that I wanted to be talking about all three kinds of cases, not just the accurate perception. So that's one connotation of perception as opposed to sensation or sensory experience. The other connotation, which doesn't really figure in my book very much at all, is that there's certain philosophers, Kant, Reid, who kind of think that there's the raw data of sensation and that only turns into something representational, structured, something that lays claim to the world being thus and so, when it's infused with concepts that come from outside the realm of sensation, come from cognition, come from higher mental faculties. And I don't think of sensation as being itself impoverished like that. I think that what goes on in sensory experience is already representational, quite independently of the presence of higher cognitive faculties. Animals who arguably don't have higher cognitive faculties, don't have concepts, I still think have representational experiences. I don't really believe in this idea of the raw data of experience that need to be shaped before they present the world to you. I'm not sure there is such a thing. So, yes, does that answer your questions? I still haven't explained the difference between perception, stroke, sensory experience, and cognition, but that's another issue.
No, but you've already raised some really interesting points that I hadn't considered. So one, the first, I just want to clarify to make sure that I'm following you. So when you distinguish between good cases and bad cases, so perception is successful if it's accurate, but to talk about the success of a sensory experience is just a category mistake. Sensory experience just is, and success doesn't really enter into the picture. Is that an
I,
accurate way of interpreting?
no, I think if sensory experience is going to include vision, hearing, touch, I think of it as uh, representational. I think that sensory experience per se represents the world to be thus and so, independently of what beliefs you might have, what cognitive states you might be in. And so, given it represents the world to be thus and so, it will either be accurate or not, veridical or not, true or not. And so, I'm very happy to talk about a fallacious sensory experience and an accurate sensory experience. Here's
Okay.
something that will bring out the point. I mean, not in a conclusive way, but we'll take the Muller-Lyer lines. You know the arrows. How do I draw it? A line, two lines. One's got
Yeah.
the arrows pointing out, one's got them pointing in,
Yeah.
and one line looks much longer than the other, even though it's not. Okay, so there's a case where in my sensory experience, the lines look to be different lengths, whereas in my cognition, in my belief, I'm not a naive person. I've seen these cases before. I know the two lines are the same length. I believe the two lines are the same length. I know the two lines are the same length, but there's something else in me that's representing them to be different lengths, namely my sensory experience. And in this case, the sensory experience is fallacious. But in other cases, when it represents two lines to be different lengths, it will be representing accurately. So that's what I think about your accusation of a category mistake. Do you feel better about it now?
Yes, I think I do. I do.
Okay.
And
I mean,
then
I agree it sounds a bit odd to talk about the sensory experience being true, but yeah, I mean, that's what I want to say.
no, that
What's,
makes sense to me. And then your second point about go ahead.
well, there's a further issue that there was a time I seem to remember Oxford philosophers saying, look, vision and touch and so on, they're not sensations. Sensations are things like itches and dizziness and so sensations, the term properly used, refer to just kind of feelings with no real content that weren't presenting the world a certain way. Okay, I agree sensations in that sense are not true or false, but I'm using sensory experience much more widely than that to include conscious visual experience, conscious tactile experience, and so on.
Hmm. I suppose that what I had in mind was just like if you're in pain,
Mm.
you just are in pain. There's no real truth or falsehood to it. But I also get the point that it could not be accurately connected to something in the world, and like if you have phantom limb syndrome and there's pain there. So
Pain's
I
fun.
think that we're on the same page.
Yeah, no, pain's funny. Pain is a hard case for the kind of thing I'm saying. I mean, just because pain is a somewhat non-standard kind of perceptual experience, and we talk about pain experience and with a different structure from the way we talk about visual experience. I mean, what many philosophers, naturalist philosophers anyway, want to say at first pass is that pain states represent there to be damage in a certain part of your body. And so that when you have a phantom pain or referred pain, it's inaccurate. The pain is inaccurate. But at the same time, We want to say, no, hang on, what do you mean the pain's inaccurate? It's still a perfectly good pain. It's perfectly real pain. I mean, the person who complains about, I've got a pain, please fix it, is talking about something that's there, whether or not it's accurate. And I think we talk about pains in a way differently than we talk about visual experiences, tactile experiences. But so let's put pains to one side. They raise all kinds of complications.
Mm-hmm. And then your second point that you made about sensation not being impoverished, contra philosophers like Kant, who thought that representation required the presence of higher cognitive faculties.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about representations in depth is a completely different can of worms. But can you give a simple example of what you mean to say that a sensory experience is representational? Like maybe if I look at my cat and I have the sense impression of my cat, is it representational just in the sense that there's beyond just the sense impression, there's some content about an object, a moving object, and even if I don't have the concept of cat, I guess.
Your thought was if beyond the sense impression there's some representation of a moving object. I'm not quite sure. I mean, I just think the sense impression itself is a state that represents the world to be thus and so. So,
okay.
I mean, it's easiest to think about it. Look, what brings out the way in which a state like that is representational is to think of cases where it misrepresents. So imagine, I mean, this quite often happens with cats, that something that you have a hallucination of a cat. I mean, it does quite often happen. A little black kind of shadow moving, and you kind of look and you kind of see cat. I mean, it's not a full-fledged, detailed image of a cat, but okay. I want to say that you have just the same sensory experience that you have when looking at an actual cat, sometimes when there's no cat there. And in that case, you're suffering an illusion or hallucination. And i.e., you're misrepresenting the world to contain a cat when it doesn't. And given it's just the same state that you have in that bad case as you have in that good case, I say that in the good case too, you've got a conscious experience that's representing there to be a cat there. It's not like this is something over and above the conscious feeling that you have when you look at the cat. I want to say the conscious feeling just is a representation of the presence of a cat.